Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great start to your day or good afternoon, excuse me, a good afternoon or good evening, whenever you're finding the time to watch this video or listen. And welcome to my channel. We are picking up in chapter 7 today, so I hope you guys are having a great start. I hope the snow is not too harsh. It really got us this week here in Chicagoland. I live in the suburbs, but yeah, I hope you guys will have a great holiday season so far. I can't believe December is here and rolling, but let's get right into it. If you're new here, if you don't know, we are reading through the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke this month, just keeping our hearts and minds centered on the reason for the season. So let's go ahead and jump into chapter 7. If you've missed any of the other chapters, go ahead and watch those. I'm trying to make these videos like less than 15 minutes so that it's not too much. But yeah, let's go. So chapter 7, and I am reading out of the NLT version. I think I started in my NIV, but because of just holding the Bible, like this is just a little bit more easy and comfortable. All right, so chapter 7. When Jesus had finished saying all this to the people, he returned to Capernaum. At that time, the highly valued slave of a Roman officer was sick and near death. When the officer heard about Jesus, he sent some respected Jewish elders to ask him to come and heal his slave. So they earnestly begged Jesus to help the man. If anyone deserves your help, he does, they said, for he loves the Jewish people and even built a synagogue for us. So Jesus went with them, but just before they arrived at the house, the officer sent some friends to say, "Lord, don't trouble yourself by coming to my home, for I am not worthy of such an honor." I just want to pause here because we are talking about a Roman official. This is not a Hebrew Israelite. This is not a Jewish person. He is a Roman official, and yet he recognizes Jesus as Lord, which I think is it's amazing because he was seeing the work that Jesus was doing and he knew who he was in the flesh. So it says, "Lord, don't trouble yourself by coming to my home, for I am not worthy of such an honor. I am not even worthy to come and meet you. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under the authority of my superior officers, and I have authority over my soldiers. I only need to say, 'Go,' and they go, or 'Come,' and they come. And if I say to my slaves, 'Do this,' they do it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. Turning to the crowd that was following him, he said, "I tell you, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel." And when the officer's friends returned to his house, they found the slave completely healed. I also want to pause there because I know a lot of times we get really tripped up on the word slave. And I've actually done a little bit of research about this word when it is used in biblical terms. So it is not the definition that we know of our modern, especially American terms when it comes to slave. A slave back in the biblical days a lot of times was someone who had a debt to repay, okay? And there were a lot of rules that were protected around like how you could treat such a person, but it wasn't the definition that we hear and know also well in America, where someone was beaten and, stripped of their rights and made to do just hard labor with no, treatment as a human. A lot of times a slave in biblical terms was someone who was paying off a debt to this person, and they were either working or living with that person to pay off that debt. So I just want to be very clear. I encourage you all to do your research and don't get caught up in a lot of the conspiracy theories that get spread, especially on social media when it comes to biblical terms, because we always want to have pretext, context, and post-text when we're reading, right? So picking up at verse 11. Soon afterward, Jesus went with his disciples to the village of Nain, hope I'm saying that right, and a large crowd followed him. A funeral procession was coming out as he approached the village gate. The young man who had died was a widow's only son, and a large crowd from the village was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. "Don't cry," he said. Then he walked over to the coffin and touched it, and the bearers stopped. "Young man," he said, "I tell you, get up." Then the dead boy sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Great fear swept the crowd, and they praised God, saying, "A mighty prophet has risen among us, and God has visited his people today." And the news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding countryside. Verse 18. The disciples of John the Baptist told John about everything Jesus was doing. So John called for two of his disciples, and he sent them to the Lord to ask him, "Are you the Messiah we've been expecting, or should we keep looking for someone else?" Mind you, this is John the Baptist, who is the one who was preaching, of Jesus. Like, he was preaching of Jesus coming. And so now it's like showing some doubt that he's been having. So picking up at verse 20. John's two disciples found Jesus and said to him, "John the Baptist sent us to ask, 'Are you the Messiah we've been expecting, or should we keep looking for someone else?'" At the very time Jesus cured many people of their diseases. Bible's pages stuck together. um, Illnesses and evil spirits, and he restored sight to many whom were blind. Then he told John's disciples, "Go back to John and tell him what you have seen and heard. The blind see, the lame walk, those with leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised to life, and the good news is being preached to the poor." And he added, "God blesses those who do not fall away because of me." After John's disciples left, Jesus began talking about him to the crowds. "What kind of man did you go into the wilderness to see? Was he a weak reed swayed by every breath of wind? Or were you expecting to see a man dressed in expensive clothes? No, people who wear beautiful clothes and live in luxury are found in palaces. Were you looking for a prophet? Yes, and he is more than a prophet. John is the man to whom the scriptures refer when they say, 'Look, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, and he will prepare your way before you.' I tell you, of all who have ever lived, none is greater than John. Yet even the least person in the kingdom of God is greater than he is." When they heard this, all the people, even the tax collectors, agreed that God's way was right, for they had been baptized by John. But the Pharisees and experts in religious law rejected God's plan for them, for they had refused John's baptism. "To what can I compare the people of this generation?" Jesus asked. "How can I describe them? They are like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends, 'We played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't weep.' For John the Baptist didn't spend his time eating bread or drinking wine, and you say, 'He's possessed by a demon.' The Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, and you say, 'He's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of a tax collector and other sinners.' But wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it." Verse 36. One of the Pharisees asked Jesus to have dinner with him. So Jesus went to his home and sat down to eat. When a certain immoral woman from the city heard he was eating there, she brought a beautiful alabaster jar filled with expensive perfume. Then she knelt behind him at his feet, weeping. Her tears fell on his feet, and she wiped them off with her hair. Then she kept kissing his feet and putting perfume on them. When the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him. She's a sinner." Then Jesus answered his thoughts. "Simon," he said to the Pharisee, "I have something to say to you." "Go ahead, teacher," Simon replied. Then Jesus told him this story. A man loaned money to two people, 500 pieces of silver to one and 50 pieces to the other. But neither of them could repay him, so he kindly forgave them both, canceling their debts. "Who do you suppose loved him more after that?" Simon answered, "I suppose the one for whom he canceled the larger debt." "That's right," Jesus said. Then he turned to the woman and said to Simon, "Look at this woman kneeling here. When I entered your home, she didn't offer me water to wash the dust from my feet, but she washed them with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You didn't greet me with a kiss, but from the time I first came in, she has not stopped kissing my feet. You neglected the courtesy of olive oil to anoint my head, but she has anointed my feet with rare perfume. I tell you, her sins, and they are many, have been forgiven. So she has shown me much love. But a person who is forgiven little shows only little love. Then Jesus said to the woman, your sins are forgiven. The men at the table said among themselves, who is this man that he goes around forgiving sins? And Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. That is the end of chapter 7. Such a beautiful way to end that chapter. You know, my Bible, it is showing the red print of Jesus when he is talking. And so just him saying your faith has saved you, go in peace. It just goes back to, I can't remember exactly where in the Bible, but I know it talks a lot about it in the New Testament, where we are saved by grace. Our faith in Jesus is what saves us, not our works. I think your faith, my belief, your faith in God is what makes your works, makes you do works. It's not the works that make you saved. So it's just a great way to end that chapter. Yeah, so much. The alabaster jar with the perfume, the woman coming in and knowing who he is, the Roman soldier saying Lord, calling Jesus Lord, asking for his servant to be healed. Just so much. The widow's son being raised from the dead. Also keep in mind, a lot of times women in this time, so she was a widow. She was out her husband, right? He's passed on. Her son was probably the last male that she had. And so Jesus had compassion for her, and he raised her son back to life. Because he could see what was happening here. She's a widow. Her son is now dead. Like, where does that leave her in the midst of everything? And so, just so much, you know. And then we see John the Baptist, his doubt coming into play here, even though he knows that this is Jesus. He knows that this is God. But we see his doubt on display there. So we're going to wrap up there with chapter 7. Tomorrow we will pick up at chapter 8. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I truly am. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Yeah, chapter 7 is completed. We will pick up tomorrow chapter 8. And I will hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Bye.